y'all. Good afternoon. Y'all are such happy faces. I'm so happy to be here talking to y'all again today. Like Andrea said, my name's Betsy Eddy. I'm the clinical dietitian. I work upstairs. And I am so excited to talk to you guys today about eating for brain health. This is a really new area of research for us in the nutrition field, so it's exciting to kind of hear what's being talked about and what can we do to kind of help give ourselves a leg up and a step in the right direction. So it might get a little sciencey today. I'm going to try and keep it really simple, but if y'all start to get really lost, just kind of start shaking your heads and I'll know, okay, we'll back off a little bit. But I am a science nerd. I love it. So I like to try and tell people in an easy way what's going on. So it's just something that I enjoy. So, but if you guys get really lost, just no, we need to stop. So just y'all let me know. Okay, perfect. So we're going to be talking about what is Alzheimer's and what are our risk factors. We're going to talk about some nutrients that show some promise in helping us to prevent Alzheimer's and keep our brains healthy. And we're also going to talk about practical ways to include these nutrients in our everyday diet. So let's get started. So Alzheimer's is our most common form of dementia. About 60 to 80% of all dementia cases are Alzheimer's patients. It is characterized by progressive memory loss. So it first starts off by affecting our ability to learn new things, but then as it gets worse and it progresses onward, we start to see disorientation and confusion about where are we or what time is it or where am I? And it can even lead in the very, very, very late stages to difficulty chewing, swallowing, and speaking. So it's not that it starts off and then you kind of stay. What characterizes Alzheimer's is that it gets worse over time. And contrary to some people's belief, Alzheimer's is not a normal part of aging. It's not supposed to happen. So this is something that researchers are really looking at is, you know, what's really going on. So we have some clues, but we're still learning. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So over here on the right, I have some risk factors that scientists have identified as this can make our risk go up for Alzheimer's. The first, of course, is age, and that one we can't help. We have no control over that. Our genetics, so if you have a family history of Alzheimer's or dementia, that can increase your risk. Any coexisting medical conditions, which really just means if you've got heart disease or diabetes or something else going on in your body, that can increase your risk. But the things that I want to know, what can I control? What can I do? And so those are right here in this little lifestyle box. We are in control of what we eat. We are in control of if we exercise or not. We can control if we smoke or not. And we can also stimulate our brains. And by that, I mean do puzzles, read books, come to Lunch and Learns where you learn new things. You're thinking, you're not just sitting in front of a TV and just kind of zoning out. As relaxing as that is, that really doesn't stimulate our brain. So those are all things that we can control. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about just briefly, and I know this is where it starts to get a little sciencey, but I promise it's interesting. We're going to talk about how does Alzheimer's affect our brain. So here on the left, we've got this picture of the brain. You can see the cortex, that outer part of our brain right here. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the neurons that are in our brain. We have over 100 billion neurons in our brain, and that is what is responsible for allowing our brain to make new memories or think thoughts or remember things. The list goes on and on and on. So these neurons we can see are in this picture right here, and we won't go into all the different parts, but basically these neurons communicate with each other, and they communicate based on an electrical charge, and you can kind of see the little lightning bolt kind of thing going on. So this electrical charge comes to the end of the branch of this neuron, and it releases this chemical, and I call it the communication chemical, but the technical term for it is a neurotransmitter. So just remember that word. It's going to come up a little bit later. So a neurotransmitter is a chemical that's released because of that charge from that cell it crosses a little space and it gets communicated to the next cell. So those cells don't actually touch, but they get very, very close. And there are trillions of those connection points where those branches kind of start to come together. That's called a neuron forest, which I think is kind of cool that it's called a forest. And you can see that up here. See how all these branches are just kind of like, they're real close to each other and it's very dense. There's a lot of those neuron cells in our brain. So as we see Alzheimer's occurring, we see less and less of these neuron cells. So the strength of the brain is really in numbers. Those cells get damaged, they die because they can't get nutrients, and we end up with a smaller number. So there's less capacity to communicate with one another. It can lead to other issues and whatnot. So the damage is really coming from, and this is what scientists think right now. So who knows what they're going to think in 5 years or 10 years or whatnot. But this is what we know right now. There are two things that scientists think are affecting and kind of killing our neurons. The first is something called a plaque. And you can see that here in this picture right here. The plaque is being formed from a protein called beta amyloid. And beta amyloid is a normal, natural part of everybody's brain. It is part of the lipid that surrounds each of our neuron cells, but as that membrane gets damaged, those proteins break off into little teeny tiny pieces. And the thought is that these beta amyloid pieces are very, very sticky. So they start to stick together and they kind of create this ball, if you will. And they block, see how there's this little space where the neurotransmitter is kind of coming through? That plaque starts to stick and it blocks that space. So cells can't communicate with each other. And if cells can't communicate, we can't do the job we need to do, right? So healthy cells look like this, but as plaques form, it takes away that space in between and it causes that dysfunction to where our cells can't communicate. The second thing is, this is really hard to see because it's actually a slide, like a biology slide, but in a healthy cell transport system, these lines are straight like railroad tracks. And these railroad tracks are what allow oxygen and energy and nutrients to get from cell to cell. So not communication, but just nutrients. So these little dots, can everybody see these right here and right here and right here? Those are a protein called tau. And tau is basically what keeps those railroad tracks straight. And if that protein gets damaged, that tau, it breaks off or collapses, those railroad tracks are no longer straight anymore and they can't transport those nutrients. So we see this breakdown and it gets very tangled and leads to a tangle. So we have plaques and tangles, and that is what scientists now think is affecting our brain cells. So as plaques and tangles increase in number, we see the progression of Alzheimer's. So you can see the healthy brain here on the left. See how it's full and there's not a whole lot of space in there. There's several characteristics that make the Alzheimer's brain different from the healthy brain. The first is that it's smaller in volume. See how that's just smaller all around? The other is that these fluid-filled spaces, this is again normal, but in Alzheimer's they get much bigger. See how that's a lot bigger than this space? So we actually lose like matter in our brain. And then finally the hippocampus, which is somewhere in this area, that's the part that allows us to learn new things and make memories and things like that. It becomes much, much, much smaller. And I mean, you can't even see it here, but it's over here. So that's how your Alzheimer's brain differs from your healthy brain. The last thing that I want to point out, and this kind of becomes important as we talk about why nutrients are important for brain health, is that these are all of the different arteries that are in the brain. And if you can tell, I mean, there's a lot up there. And what you can't see, in this picture at least, is all of that black. Does everybody see the black kind of behind the white? that black is more blood vessels and more capillaries. So our brains are incredibly rich in blood vessels and arteries and capillaries, which means that our brain needs a lot of blood, it needs a lot of oxygen, it needs a lot of nutrients in order to function. So it's called vasculature. If our vasculature becomes damaged, we can't get the oxygen that we need, we can't get the nutrients that we need. So it's very important that we have that healthy vasculature that allows oxygen and nutrients to move in. Is everybody following me so far? Have I scared anybody? Okay. Am I too sciencey yet? All right, good. Okay. So this is just a brief picture of how, a little picture of how Alzheimer's progresses. So you see it kind of starts off small with a few plaques and tangles, and then it starts to spread, and then before you know it, you've got a good bit in your brain. It's covering most of your brain. So it's just showing that Alzheimer's gets worse over time. So nutrition for brain health, the thing that all y'all came here to learn about today. So there's 3 nutrients that scientists are currently looking at as far as being protective for our brains. The first is antioxidants, and I gave a couple examples here: vitamin C, vitamin E, and glutathione. Now, it's not, if I could stress anything on anyone, it would be, I don't want you to go to the store and start looking for a vitamin E supplement. Please do not do that. Please do not do that. But remember, antioxidants as a whole are protective for our brains and for our cardiovascular health and just for our bodies in general. So just remember antioxidants. Phytochemicals, which is just the science name for plant chemicals. Now, I have a whole bunch of them listed right here, so anybody who really likes science or who happens to read research articles, you might recognize some of these words. But otherwise, for everybody else, the general way to describe phytochemicals or plant chemicals is these are things naturally found in plants that give them color, smell, taste, all of those things that make each fruit and vegetable unique. So, as an example, can anybody tell me a fruit or vegetable that has carotenoids in it? Bingo. Can anybody? All right, it's going to get a little bit tougher. Can anybody tell me where you find anthocyanins? Nope. Nope. There's one big one I'm thinking of. It's in season right now in the summer. Nope. Blueberries. So yep, blueberries. Anthocyanins. So it makes kind of that blue color. Carotenoids are not just present in carrots. They're present in sweet potatoes and a bunch of other different vegetables, even in leafy greens that are not orange. So the color is one of the things that just makes it look pretty, but just know that just because something's not orange or it's not blue doesn't mean it doesn't have these chemicals in it. So there's fruits and vegetables that have higher concentrations of each one of these. So when I say anthocyanins are in blueberries, they're in a bunch of other different fruits and vegetables too, but it's just in a high concentration in blueberries. We're going to keep going through this because I'm enjoying it. Where can you find betalins? Does anybody know? Wait, what was that? Beets. Y'all got it. Good job. Yeah, beets. And then allicin. This is my last one. You got it. Onions and garlic, and that's what gives it that really pungent smell and that really particular taste. So,
what was the first one?
Polyphenols, that is another broad group. It's not one in particular, but polyphenols are found in red wine. Resveratrol is an example of a polyphenol, and resveratrol is, my goodness. Y'all are a rowdy group, my goodness. Okay, so I just want to clarify, resveratrol is a type of polyphenols. Yes, it is found in red wine, but what is red wine made of? You can still get resveratrol from eating grapes. So if you don't, yeah, sorry to disappoint. I mean, you're still getting it, but I'm just saying, for all you people who don't want to drink, you can still get your resveratrol from your red grapes. So, healthy choices, people, healthy choices. So, the last group of nutrients we're going to talk about is B vitamins. So, I'm not going to go into each of these individually because honestly, we'd be here all day. But these are just different types of B vitamins: thiamine, niacin, riboflavin, B6, folate, B12. So if you see any of those, they fall under the category of B vitamins. Okay? Everybody following me? All right. This is where I get excited. So everybody stick with me. And remember, just shake your head and put your hands up. No. So I want to talk about why are those plant chemicals, those phytochemicals and antioxidants, why are they so special? Why do they work? Okay, so this was a lecture that I heard in college, and it just stuck with me. One of my professors, she did a great job of explaining all this, and I've taken it down to an even more basic level, because honestly, you don't need to know about the 3 different steps and blah, 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 because that's just, it's annoying. So anyway, we're going to talk about antioxidants and phytochemicals and how they work. So we all know that eating blueberries is good for us, right? Right, because of those antioxidants. They're high in antioxidants. Cranberries are high in antioxidants. Berries are high in antioxidants. So we hear this all the time. So why does this work? So raise your hand if you have a background in biology. Great. Anybody have a background in chemistry? Did anybody take biology or chemistry? Okay. All right. Okay. So we're gonna keep this real simple, I promise, because I want everybody to understand this. So if you think way back into biology, maybe in middle school or high school, you remember that all of our cells, everything really, is made up of atoms, right? Everything's made up of atoms, okay? And if you think way back to basic chemistry in middle school or high school, you remember that everything has electrons, right? Our atoms have electrons, and these electrons, they like to travel in pairs. Is that kind of ringing a bell with everybody? Electrons are happy when they're in pairs? Okay, so the reason that antioxidants are so great is because our body is constantly going through chemical reactions. You are sitting here right now, and reactions are happening inside your body to keep it running. It is normal, it is natural, but then there are also reactions that occur when we expose ourselves to stress. So this could be things like cigarette smoke. It could be things like UV light from a tanning bed or just from being out in the sun too long. It's a stress for our body, okay? And it causes damage to our cells. Chemical reactions in our body can also cause this damage to our cells. But what happens is, here is my, for lack of a better word, it's a healthy atom, okay? And when we are exposed to that damage, these little pair of electrons right here, one of those gets split off, okay? And we end up with this little red electron right here that has a little dash next to it, and that's just to show you that there's nothing next to it. It's just a rogue electron, okay? And this is what we call in science a free radical. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Free radicals are killing us. Da, da, da. Okay, well, we're going to talk about how to stop that. So we have this free radical, okay? And laws of nature mean that we need to make this right. This electron is not going to be satisfied until it has a partner, okay? And it will bump into everything it possibly can to try and find a match, to try and become happy and be paired up and be balanced again. So what can happen is when this atom becomes damaged, it creates this free radical. This free radical starts bumping into a whole bunch of other different cells, ripping off its electrons, so then the free radical's happy, but then another cell is not paired up, or another electron's not paired. So then it starts bumping around looking for more. So it creates this big chain reaction. Okay, everybody following me still? Okay, great. The nodding helps me to know that I'm on the right track. So we have this big chain reaction going on. This is where antioxidants and phytochemicals become the superhero of the day. Okay, this is an example of vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin A. So it's not necessarily that you know which one is which, but the reason I put these complicated chemical structures up here is because I want you all to notice the structure is really special. It's really unique. It's got different bonds. It's got these different hydrogens in different places. And so because of its structure, that antioxidant can basically take that free radical and say, it's okay. I'm going to take care of it. And it pairs up that electron and it's satisfied. And that antioxidant and that phytochemical, they do not become reactive. They don't become dangerous, for lack of a better word. They're able to grab that electron and say, it's okay, you're paired, and then they don't go causing more damage. So that's why antioxidants are so cool and so important. Who's excited? I'm excited. So remember, we talked about where you could find all those phytochemicals. All those examples you guys gave me, what were they? And? Plants, fruits, and vegetables, right? Fruits and vegetables. So I know y'all only had me one other time in here, but all my other Lunch and Learn groups, they probably think I'm crazy because I'm constantly just eat your fruits and vegetables. And it's a very simple message, but it has huge impacts for our health. And this is one of the reasons why. This is one of the reasons why, is it's not just, oh, more vitamins and minerals. You're getting antioxidants and phytochemicals too. So fruits and vegetables are awesome. So don't be afraid. We're not going to go through this. Don't be afraid. Can anybody tell me, I just want to see, can anybody tell me what this is showing me? Yes, ma'am. That's right. So this is the process for glycolysis and the Krebs cycle. And basically, this is a process that happens in every single one of our cells to allow us to make energy, ATP and all that. So you are exactly right when you said this shows us the different B vitamins. So it's not that thiamine and niacin are in any of these words. It's that thiamine and niacin, riboflavin, all those different B vitamins are in these little circular compounds. So NAD, TPP, FAD, all of those things that are necessary as coenzymes and cofactors to make this process happen could not be there without B vitamins. B vitamins are part of that molecule. Is that making sense to everybody? So in order for this process to happen, we have to have B vitamins. Okay? B vitamins, and I don't have this in a picture or anything, but B vitamins also are part of neurotransmitters. Remember that chemical that allows our cells to communicate? They're part of what allows those chemicals to be made, is B vitamins. There's also a chemical called homocysteine. Has anybody ever heard of homocysteine before? Okay, what's homocysteine?
I know it's in the medical records. I have it, so.
Yeah, okay. So homocysteine is a chemical that doctors and scientists have identified as being a risk factor for heart disease. Okay, heart disease affects our cardiovascular system, right? And if we go back a couple slides, we remember that we have a vascular system in our brain too, right? So B vitamins, folate, and B12, those two in particular, help to keep that chemical homocysteine in check. They help to make sure that it doesn't go into super high levels and whatnot. I don't know the whole process, but I know that that is what helps keep it in check. So B vitamins are very, very important for multiple reasons. Now, who can tell me where we can find B vitamins? Whoa now. What did you just say? We can find B vitamins at the store? You are breaking my heart. You're breaking my heart. Bingo. Okay, gold star to the lady in the gray shirt. Gold star. Okay, so B vitamins, yes, are a huge part of fruits and vegetables. Some of the best sources are going to be in beans, in whole grains, in leafy greens, but they're also in other fruits and vegetables too. So it's not that you want to only eat beans or only eat whole grains. It's all about eating all of those things. So let me make sure that I'm prepping myself up well here. Okay, so is there a diet pattern that allows us to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, a lot of beans, a lot of whole grains? There is. It's called the Mediterranean diet. Who's heard of the Mediterranean diet before? Okay. Yes, and tell me, I want to hear from y'all, what are some of the things that you know about the Mediterranean diet? What are the tenets of the diet? It's heart healthy. Okay. It tends to have more what?
Tends to have more olive oil oils than we think.
Yes, yeah, you're exactly right. So it is I have kind of the tenets up here. Every meal is based on the following: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, olive oil, beans, nuts, legumes, herbs, spices. All of those things have the nutrients that we talked about. Eating fish Twice a week is one of the tenets. Okay, it's giving us some of those heart-healthy fats, those omega-3s. It's eating moderate portions of cheese and yogurt daily to weekly. And when I read this, I wanted to make sure people understand this does not mean a moderate portion size on the scale of small, moderate, large. It just means keeping it in check. You don't want to be eating a ton of cheese and yogurt, but you want to have it in your diet. It's important. You want to have poultry and eggs every 2 days or weekly. So eggs are no longer a taboo anymore. We all know that. We want to eat red meat sparingly, maybe 1 day a week, and limiting it to about 3 ounces. So really using the right portion control. The majority, if you look at this pyramid, I really like this pyramid. I know it's kind of small, but if you look, the very base of it is all of those things on that first line: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, olive oil, nuts, etc. Activity is a huge part of it. Spending time with family is a part of this diet. So it's not just what are you eating, it's also what are you doing? What is the lifestyle that you're living? And if you think back to that risk factors slide, we talked about a lot of that, didn't we? Okay. I also want to note number 7 for all you wine drinkers in here. Drink wine in moderation. Okay, that means 1 5-ounce glass for women or 2 5-ounce glasses for men a day. Sir.
There was just an article in the paper a week ago about, it was called EVU, virgin olive oil, and it talked about the connection between that and the diminishment or postponement, if you will, of Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yes, and we are actually just about to get to that. So does this even work? So this might even be the same study that article was referencing. So again, the science nerd that I am is super excited because this was a very good research study. There's different qualities of research studies, and this was a very good one that was done. It was let me make sure I'm telling y'all the name right. It was a randomized, controlled clinical trial. That's one of the best types of research you could possibly look at. It had a sample size of about 500 people that they looked at, and they were followed for 6 years. So this is excellent because it doesn't mean that it was a quick thing. It wasn't a small sample size. They looked at a good group of people for a good amount of time. So they were looking at, does this Mediterranean diet really affect our cognitive decline risk? And the way that the study was designed is that participants, all those 500 people, were assigned one of 3 diets. The first one was the Mediterranean diet with olive oil, and I looked at it. It was about, like you said, an abnormally high amount, about 1/2 cup of olive oil per day. Okay, a Mediterranean diet with mixed nuts, so a small handful, about 20 almonds. Or they were given a control diet, which they were just told, limit your fat consumption, eat a low-fat diet. How many of y'all have heard eat a low-fat diet? Okay, so these were the 3 diets that were assigned to this 500 sample size. 3/4 of those participants completed follow-up cognitive tests after they had completed these pre-tests. And this study, this was a Spanish study, it's called the PREDIMED study. It found that the Mediterranean diet with nuts group, the group that ate that diet, they had improved their memory test scores after about 4 years. The Mediterranean diet with olive oil group, they improved their thinking test scores after about 4 years of that diet. And interestingly, they found that the reduced fat and low fat diet group, they scored lower on their thinking and memory tests after 4 years. So speaking to what you were talking about, we really think there's something here with these heart-healthy fats and with eating lots of fruits and vegetables affecting our risk. And something that I want to say about this study too was that they looked at 500 people who were healthy. They did not have early Alzheimer's or anything like that. They were cognitively, their brain was healthy to start off with, but they were at risk for cardiovascular disease. So that was their qualification. So I just think this is awesome and super exciting. I'm excited to see what else kind of comes of this type of research. There's a few other studies that have been done, and I listed them here, but I honestly couldn't tell you all the specifics of those studies, so we won't go into that. But the last thing, because I want to be respectful of y'all's time, the last thing that I want to talk about is some ways that you can make this diet happen every day. The first is to make half your plate fruits and vegetables. This recommendation of mine will never change regardless of what group of people I'm talking to. Fruits and vegetables are crucial for our health. We know that. We might not know what chia seeds do for us, or what's glutathione, or what about artificial sweeteners. We might not know about that, but we sure do know that fruits and vegetables are good for us. That is one thing that we can all agree on. We can eat more fruits and vegetables a day by adding them to different recipes or snacks. So something simple that you might do, like maybe you take a jarred pasta sauce from the store. Maybe you wilt down some spinach, chop it up real fine and cook it down and add that to your sauce. You're getting an extra serving of vegetables and you haven't changed what you're eating at all. You're literally just adding to it. Maybe if you have some oatmeal in the morning, you add a few blueberries to it on the top. You haven't changed your breakfast, you're just adding to it. So you can add fruits and vegetables to things that you're already eating. You can saute vegetables in olive oil instead of butter to get those omega-3 fats. You can make homemade salad dressings using olive oil. Anecdotal story, I was at the grocery store because making homemade salad dressings can be a little tedious, especially when you're trying to get dinner on the table in a short amount of time. So even though I love to cook, I was trying to find one that was olive oil based. And it took me some hunting, and I really only found one or two that had olive oil and not canola oil or sunflower oil. And not that there's anything wrong with those, but if we're looking to add that olive oil to our diet, it was kind of hard to find. So if you're really looking for an olive oil based salad dressing, it might be best to make your own, or let me know what brand you find because I'd like to go purchase it. You can choose whole grains instead of refined bread or pasta. So whole wheat pasta is not my favorite, but an easy swap that you can make is instead of white rice, brown rice. You're getting that whole grain, you are getting more of those B vitamins. You can use that in a chicken and rice casserole. You're getting that whole grain. Or whole wheat bread instead of just white bread. You can substitute a fish for a red meat meal. You want to try and shoot for fish about twice a week. That's just one of the tenets of this Mediterranean diet. And the last thing that you could do would be to choose low-fat dairy. So you can switch from whole milk to 2%, 1%, or skim. And really all that's happening there is you're getting a few less calories, but you're still getting all the same nutrition because you've just taken some of the fat content down. That's all I got for you today. Thank you so much.